we know the score with this horse.
2 good runs at weight for age, 2 good runs. Gee, underselling it a bit. Excellent runs in the Lawrence Stakes and in the Mackay Diva last week when he was back to near last, got to the outside and just warmed up really nicely over the last 400. Sectionals were excellent. He looks fantastic. Good horse.
IBICENCO getting fitter.
He wasn't bad in the heavily first up 1700. He picked a few off late in that race. Gets to this distance, probably better. I would have liked him in a race with a bit more tempo.
Taking improvement from that first up run. He looks well.
Entirely Platinum should roll forward here on the firmer ground.
He's got speed to go and be one of the leading pair. I would have thought up the front. Weight for age back to a handicap here. That's going to suit. Look, it's getting towards D-Day for this horse. He's been beating up on listed and Group 3 grade horses. There's some nice cup prospects in this. Time for him to stand up.
Not far away, our VOODOO Prince, who could be one of the main players in the Caulfield Cup.
He just looks a bit soft, doesn't he? Looks like he's had a little bit of a clip too. He's in great condition. Maybe just that run short. I like the way he travelled into the race at Moonee Valley. Hit the corner, didn't handle it. And I thought he was okay late with 60 kilos on his back.
BONFIRE really like what he's done in Sydney. Can he do it now in Melbourne?
Yeah, well, he could be one of the leaders here too, Bruce. He's been excellent on good and heavy ground over 1,800 metres. Get some weight relief. We get to test that New South Wales form around Greatwood and Marmostad back to Victoria here.
Foundry? Oh, we're expecting a lot better.
We'll talk about D-Day for Entirely Platinum. It's got to be D-Day for this fellow, doesn't it? He's got a lot of ability, a really talented staying horse, but his 2 runs back at Moonee Valley have just been awful. Needs to lift.
Another import, ARALDO can improve here.
Very good here, I thought, in the heavily. Loved his last 200. In fact, it was the 12th best of the day. Entire meeting there, and there was some fast times run here on that day. Looking for a cheeky run from him.
He's showing a bit of cheek too in the pre-parade. When he was stepping out, he was having a little strike and definitely still has plenty of spring in his step. So look for him to make an improvement here.
Can't make a case for KINCAPLE and what we've seen back here.
No, not at all. He'll need a weaker race and a bit more ground.
Blinkers are back on for Let's Make a Deal. It was okay in the heavily.
Yeah, she's carried weight for age and then the handicap last time, 56.5. So drops a couple of kilos here to this race. Blinkers on. Both big positives. She's got the ability to win.
Great courage. As soon as MELHAM got up, he started prancing around and behaving like he wanted to be out there today.
Ugly looking little grey horse, isn't he? There's not much of him. He's got some spirit about him though, and he's got some ability too. Both runs back from a break have been good. I thought he was brave enough in the Dardo Tanchin Nam last time behind the cleaner.
And ALBONETTI, I'm sure it's a surprise, probably surprised they've even got a crack at the Naturalism.
Oh, well, she's been running on well in weaker races in Adelaide.
Start for one of these runners. They're ready. Off in the Naturalism, and the starters caught them in a pretty good line. Spillway wasn't the best to bounce out. He just has to be bustled to get a position in the early part. And Foundry got to the front pretty comfortably early, but now here's BONFIRE coming over. Entirely Platinum and CARO are up there in the early stages, and Spillway settled 5th on the rail. So it's Williams who takes BONFIRE to the lead. 1.5 lengths to CARO 2nd. Entirely Platinum is holding 3rd outside Foundry. A length further back, Let's Make a Deal, improving outside Spillway, who's got buried away on the rails now, followed by IBICENCO. A length further back in the field behind him is KINCAPLE. ARALDO caught a little bit deep there, about 1.5 lengths away to our VOODOO Prince, back in company with ALBONETTI. BONFIRE on top of the hill at the 1200, 3/4 clear to CARO. 1.5 lengths away Foundry on the rail. Entirely Platinum holding 4th the outside. 1.5 further back is Spillway. 5th on the inside, and there's Let's Make a Deal. And around the outside, IBICENCO took off very quickly in a dawdling speed, and he's rushed up to get near the speed. They were being followed further back by ARALDO. Our VOODOO Prince KINCAPLE towards the end with ALBONETTI. So IBICENCO on an early move with 800 left to go has gone up to set the race alight. BONFIRE the inside, and CARO with IBICENCO joining them. 1.5 lengths on Entirely Platinum. Foundry's had a beautiful run. They're being followed. Let's Make a Deal. 1.5 lengths to Spillway, awkwardly positioned before the turn at the 600. And then ARALDO, KINCAPLE, our VOODOO Prince, and 3 lengths to ALBONETTI. BONFIRE the leader coming around the turn. CARO's racing up to join him on the outside. Foundry just behind them. IBICENCO looked a shot duck. ARALDO to the outside. Spillway. Oliver's going to have to try and thread the needle, but he hasn't got a run. CARO, BONFIRE turning together. Here's ARALDO with his head turned, wanting to run on. Spillway still no run, and then now VOODOO Prince, CARO and BONFIRE from Entirely Platinum, and back behind them ALBONETTI. CARO only narrowly now. Entirely Platinum drives through on the inside, but CARO held on, and he's into the Caulfield Cup. He's won it from Entirely Platinum. Photos for third. Now we've got IBICENCO, out wider was ALBONETTI, and BONFIRE on the rail. SPILLWAY just behind them, followed by FOUNDRY, Let's Make a Deal, our VOODOO Prince, ARALDO, and KINCAPLE last.
Brilliant ride, Ben MELHAM. Brilliant ride. And Jake Stevens keeps the dream alive for CARO, the former French horse, now into the Caulfield Cup, a race he tried with Alco Pop, carrying his family colours here. And MELHAM positive early. He's outstayed them. There's more to come from this bloke who goes off at $16 here and outstays Entirely Platinum, lining up for 30. But full marks here to Benny MELHAM. Great positive ride and into the Cup.
Oh, catch your breath, Bruce. We're off to the Caulfield Cup. What a fantastic win from CARO. Brilliant. And a lovely ride from Ben MELHAM too. Assessed the speed early, wanted to come across and be with BONFIRE, who was going to take up the early running. Sat on him and travelled much the better too from the 600 metres. Took over on the turn. Doesn't have a great turn of foot, but just stays on. One speed, one speed. He's a tough stayer, this fellow. Entirely Platinum. Good run from this horse in the orange silks. Really strong through the line. IBICENCO good. ARALDO, Let's Make a Deal, wanting to bump. Our VOODOO Prince was okay too. SPILLWAY, no luck.